All right, perfect. So officially, guys, welcome to the Whalebone webinar. This time we will be talking about Immunity, our product for the corporate segment. And we would like to share a few things, not just from the sales perspective, but also from the technical. And therefore, it's going to be the two of us. So myself, the channel sales manager for Immunity, and our technical consultant, Adam.
Hi, nice to meet all of you.
So first of all, we will discuss a little bit why the DNS security is an issue and why we should discuss it at this point. Then I will let Adam talk a little bit about the DNS problematic and DNS security. And then I will start sharing the best practices of selling Immunity. So that's why most of you are here. Then I will give Adam words again, and he will show you a little technical demonstration that will be focused on what we have covered during the entire presentation. During the whole time, please feel free to submit any questions that you might have, and we will try to cover them at the end. If we do not cover them, we will of course respond to them in a follow-up email. So don't worry, it will be answered. So first of all, as you all know, the cyber threats are on the rise, but so are the costs. So the costs associated with any type of cyber threats have been rising, and the statistics from the World Economic Forum from early this year is just showing us that around 3 million or 3 trillion US dollars for 2015 has actually been doubled in 2021. So we're talking about 6 trillion US dollars. The prediction for the next years, so in this case 2025, is expected to rise up to 10.5 trillion US dollars. And therefore, of course, this is something that the managers cannot ignore anymore, as we're talking about, for example, stealing credentials, we're talking about phishing attacks, and this, of course, is very relevant for us right now, as 91% of those cyber attacks or cyber threats touch the DNS at some point. So now, of course, we are all interested in knowing what is the DNS, or why should we care? And Adam can tell us that.
Right. So if you imagine DNS, what it is actually, it's sort of the first step in any internet communication. Whenever humans need to go to some website, they need a process called DNS resolution. And that is a process for the computers to translate the human readable address to an IP address for the subsequent communication. So the computers do something called DNS lookups, and then they do this thanks to the DNS resolvers. You can imagine it as an address book of the internet. This is how it's commonly explained to less technical users. And this is an analogy that you can use whenever talking about this to your clients. So you know your buddy John, and when you need to send him a postcard, you need to look up his address. So the analogy is that the domain name is the name, and the IP address is the physical address. And since coming back to the number from before, the 91% of all malicious communication touching DNS at some point, that is on one hand an extremely mind-boggling number. On the other hand, it allows us to cast a very wide net and catch a wide variety of threats. So if you take the special instances of when the DNS protocol is abused during the malware lifecycle, it can be at any point in time. Either when a malware is contacting some download domain or some domain from where to download the actual payload, it looks for a domain. Whenever some fake website is included in a message, the user is prompted to visit a domain. Whenever a bot is contacting its CNC server for instructions, it usually resolves a domain. Or whenever any data is exfiltrated through, let's say, DNS tunneling, it's also looking up a domain. So by knowing these domains, we're able to stop these attacks. And we have a small test for you. In the cybersecurity sector, it's common to say, "I would never do that. Like, I would not be fooled by such an easy thing as a domain spoofing." So we have a small test for you. Do you see any difference between the domains on the left and the ones on the right?
Well, I don't.
No need to answer. There is a difference, although it might not seem like it. The domains on the left are the legitimate ones, and the domains on the right are using a character from a different character set, or a different alphabet, as you may call it. And this is thanks to internalized domain names, IDN, and a thing called Unicode, which abuses the fact that we can spell the domains in our native language, like the Greek or the Cyrillic or the Alka. And the difference is not noticeable to the human eye. However, it is, of course, something different for the computer. And our resolver detects this and is able to block even attacks like this. And this is just one example of how easy it is to fool a user. I mean, the variety of attacks has been growing. We've seen some recent inventions in smishing campaigns or exfiltrating some data in TXT records of domains, and there's quite a lot of techniques that the attackers are using. This is also another example from 2017. You might see the domains on the top three. The domains that have been registered on 20th April 2017, they all spell out iCloud, however, in different character sets. You might notice that the fourth one has the double dot above the O. The third one has some symbol above the U. But again, for the user on the first glance, this is not something noticeable. And of course, this domain might then host some web page which resembles the iCloud perfectly one-to-one. And the attackers might be able to exfiltrate the user's credentials, steal his passwords, use it for other services, drain his accounts, and so on.
Exactly. Thanks, Adam. This really just means, or this just shows you that the cyber threats are not just attacking some users who would overlook something by mistake or who would just not pay attention. Those cyber attacks are more sophisticated than ever before, and literally every company should take care of those threats, because really, I was fooled in this little example. I'm sure that you might have as well. And in order to protect all of your employees, you cannot just train them all. You should really make yourself less vulnerable, or the less vulnerable as possible. And therefore, I imagine that your clients, they might have firewall, antivirus, or any other cybersecurity solution. However, if we're talking about those other more sophisticated threats such as CNCs, DNS tunneling, spear phishing, man-in-the-middle attacks, we really would like to take care of the DNS layer right away. So adding this extra security, or this extra layer of cybersecurity, this is what you can achieve with a DNS solution such as Immunity. Also, there is no need to install an agent or anything on the end devices. In the moment when we implement, or when we install the resolver within the network, from that moment we're protecting all the devices right away. So really, no need to install anything on the end devices. That actually allows us to control the DNS traffic from the moment we install it. So really, within 2 hours or less, we are taking care of the DNS traffic. And also, what would be interesting for your clients is that you get the overview of the DNS traffic. It's a very easy way. Adam will show you later on in the demo. It's an easy way to see what has been happening, or what is happening in your network. And also, you see the DNS traffic, you see the threats, that have been stopped, that have been blocked. You can also use the product for content filtering. So that's an extra plus. In case, of course, you might be asking, okay, so I'm protecting my network, but what if I have employees who are working from home? What if I have employees who are on a business trip? So of course, in those cases, we're able to protect them by our add-on, by our home office security agent that we do install on the particular devices that are traveling or that are used from home. So that way, we are able to secure those devices the same way as if the users were physically present in the offices. Another extra feature that we have added to our product is the identity protection, and this is really, I would say, this is something different from DNS layer. However, it's very connected with the cybersecurity in the value that we can provide to our clients, and it is the capability to see what credentials, passwords, even keyword codes have been leaked in the past. So as soon as I run this, it can be a trial or it can be an easy check. I can see, okay, 5 years ago those credentials have been leaked. So of course this could be something cool for your clients, but why should you as partners care? Why should you offer immunity and add our product to your portfolio? So of course, the first reason would be you can approach new clients with this or upsell to your current customers. It could serve, from our experience, even as a door opener, because of course, with your firewall, you might not be able to persuade the client to change to a new firewall. But with this new product, with this new, let's say, layer, you could be interesting for the client. And once you have the door opened, then you can push your other products as well. It's also extremely fast for the clients to get interested, because what we do is we usually start a trial. It really takes less than 2 hours to set up everything. And after 30 days, sometimes even earlier, we're able to present a report about the threats that we have blocked that wouldn't have been blocked otherwise. And also, we mentioned we can show them also the ID protection results. We can show them what credentials have been leaked. And right after the POC, we actually have half of the clients commit to the product. So this is really a great thing for you. You don't have much time needed to set it up, but you have results right away. And also, just to mention that we are legit and we are the DNS solution that you could be considering, is that the DNS for EU, that's actually now a project that we pride ourselves in winning. We have been selected by the European Union to provide the DNS security for 100 million users from the European Union. So this is definitely a great backup to our claims. Now, of course, I will repeat myself a few times here because I really wanted to show you the best practices. This is something that you could be using once you already have us in the portfolio and you would like to push our product. So of course, the trial is the best way. Imagine you have a manager and he doesn't believe in extra cybersecurity products, but you have an IT admin and he would love to have a DNS solution. So he would just after the trial he would just go show the manager the report, and that could actually that might help him for the manager to allocate the cost towards this extra cybersecurity. So really the trial is a great tool also for the internal IT admins to show to the managers. Again, very fast, within 2 hours. I'm sure that Adam can tell you millions of cases or thousands of cases where we have finalized the implementation even within an hour or so. But of course, this is extremely speedy, even if it's those 2 hours. Best value for the money. So of course, if we compare ourselves with our competitors, there is no way that our competitors provide you with the full offering for less money than we do. We can talk about, of course, the pricing later on, but yeah, we're definitely on the economical side. Yeah, we mentioned no installation on the endpoint, and we have also direct vendor support available, meaning that either Adam or any of his colleagues can always jump on the call with the client and show them, that the vendor is really there to back them up. This really, the flexibility, this is something that we also value. Yes, other than that, again, this is a slide that I'm sure is the most interesting for you right now. So I'm not getting into details, but again, the incident report, that's again, ID protection, no maintenance needed. Really, once you implement it and do some fine tuning, you let it run, and you don't have to check up every week, every day to see what's happening. No, we're just doing what you have configured. And yes, some of the strategies that we have been using. So we have a partner, for example, who has added us into their SOC bundle. And we have also partners who push it on top of the firewall. So really, there are also ways of bundling our product with other cybersecurity products so that you offer a more complete cybersecurity offering. Now, who do we approach? Or, I was mentioning corporate segment, but actually what I wanted to show you here is that we don't have any technical limitations in terms of the number of employees, but we strongly suggest focusing on the, let's say, from 100 to 5,000 employees. Of course, you can go straight into enterprises. You can also cover your small clients, but we have the great experience in this particular interval, or let's say in this particular number of employees. We have also the options of offering the hybrid model, let's say on-premise and cloud together, or cloud only. So of course we can cover those customers as well. And the sectors, the verticals that are the most common, we're talking about manufacturing, healthcare, we have some government as well, financing, banking, telcos as well. So just to show you some of them, you might recognize some of those companies. But of course, a municipality there in Madrid, we have Panasonic, European Union, that we have pension, some banks. And of course, if you have any other customers from other verticals, we're able to get you either a reference or a case study. So really, this is not a problem from all of those sectors. To conclude this section, or my section, I would also like to mention something about the partnership in general with us. So of course, we have mentioned that you will have Adam or a technician available. There's also a channel manager that is there for you to prepare the strategy and jump on a call with a client and just be available for you. Then, of course, our marketing manager providing you with materials and videos and studies and localizations. So that's definitely something that we provide. Of course, a partner program that is depending on your sales, on other things, training, certifications, and so on. And what is probably the most interesting for you is that it can raise your MRR. This, of course, differs based on the number of employees and the number of years you purchase. But this is just, just a reference number for you just to see. And everything that we have discussed, even the new features, the ID protection, the home office security, everything is included. So of course, we're ready to attend any client in any client meetings you might have or chosen event. So that's definitely not something that we would avoid. We're happy to be there and represent our company. Yes.
Before we move to the next section, I think we have some questions. We might want to go over them. I mean, we'll select the ones that are relevant for the commercial part. So the first one is regarding the cost.
So perfect. So we have responded it. So how much does it cost and how does the licensing work? So the cost we can see on the slide. So those 20 euros more or less. But if you have a particular project, we can of course talk about this more on an individual basis. The licensing is per user. So even if the user has 2 laptops, one mobile phone, it still counts as one. So this is how the licensing works. Of course, any services, if you are already trained, you sell the services. So we don't need any percentage of that, unless you don't provide the services. If you want us to do those, then we would. But of course, all of you are strongly, let's say we strongly recommend for you to get certified right away. It's about half a med day, 4 hours with Adam.
And then maybe 2 days to complete the exercise, or depending on how much time the person can actually allocate.
Yeah.
The next question regarding threat intelligence, I think I'll save for later when I'll be doing the demo.
Because they're asking about, could you explain briefly how you gather threat intelligence and how you keep up to date, especially for 0-day threats? So we will probably be covering this. And we have a question about competitors. If you could give a few points which are unique to Immunity or not yet widely implemented by your competitors. That's probably also a technical question that you could...
Sure, yeah. I mean, the greatest differentiator in my view is the latest addition that we've added, and that's the identity protection, because this is not something you can do with a firewall. You need actively scraping the dark forums and the Hacker News and websites to get these data assets, and then tell the users that they're actually tied to their domain. So this is that we're doing extra, and I'm not aware that any competitor is doing this at the moment. Apart from that, the threat intelligence that we have is quite unique. I don't think there's been anyone who's more successful in filtering the threats. I think it was last year or maybe mid-year 2022 when we were certified by AV-Test, or we were tested by them, and the comparison of detection rate compared to false positive rate was best in class. I don't think that any other competitor came close to the results that we had. So that's another unique thing, and I'll try to think of any others during the demo.
Okay, I see one more question that I could respond prior to Adam starting the demo, and that is, it looks great. Oh, thanks. Where do I find the materials needed to showcase your product? Any localizations available? So we have a partner portal that is available for all of our partners, and we periodically update the content there. So we have materials from the marketing, commercial, technical side. We have also some legal documents. So anything there you can download, you can work with it. And if you need any localizations, We discussed that either we localize it from here or we participate on those. And we have always found a way. Currently, we have localization from French, German, Spanish, Polish, and some others. But of course, if you have some others, we can talk about those languages as well.
All right. The rest of the questions will be released, I guess, after the webinar. So let's jump to the technical presentation of the product. I would just like to ask for a quick confirmation if you can see my screen and the stuff that I'm presenting currently. Cool. So this is what the customer gets when we create a trial for them. They get access to our administration console. They get their own environment where they're able to configure stuff and see the incidents and the DNS traffic that they have caught. So this is the main page where we can see the load that the resolvers are currently under. In this environment, we have two local resolvers running at 2 cores each. I think they have 8 gigs of RAM and a small amount of disk space. The minimal configuration or the minimal hardware requirements for the VMs that our solution is running on are nothing major. I can later also share a link to our documentation with the minimal specs. So these two resolvers are handling about 10 million requests per hour on average, and in peaks they also climb to, I don't know, 45 million in the data that we have for the past 30 days. Our solution monitors the resolver itself, I mean the virtual machine, so the customer can get an overview of the health of the resolver, the hardware performance, how utilized are the cores, how much RAM is used on the machine, and information about the disk and network cards. So this is the first nice thing, that this is really a good overview of the product. Then in the configuration section, this is where the customer configures the security policies. They can have as many of them as they want, and we apply these policies based on the network subnet. So the usual scenario is that the administrator configures some default policy, which is applied to all users. And then let's say they also have a private, or they also have a public Wi-Fi available to their guests. So they might configure that policy a little bit differently, either make it more strict because they don't trust the users coming from outside of their company, or on the other hand, make it more relaxed because they don't want to block anything for external guests. The security policy is really easy to configure. It's just a thing of these two sliders here. This tells us how sensitive the resolver is towards the malicious domain. And this brings me back to the question from before and the threat intelligence. So this is how we're evaluating the domains on the fly. So every domain that we have in our database, which consists of millions of domains at the moment, has a score associated with it. That score tells us how confident we are that that domain is malicious. And this is based on the indicators that we scrape 24/7 in real time from multiple sources. We have about 60 different sources at the moment. Some of them are open source, some of them are commercial, and we pay for them. We also have our own threat intelligence team, which is doing their own research, scraping these domains from the darknet forums again, and looking for indicators that we might have or that we might use to apply to these domains. And so then when the resolver registers a request to a domain which has a score higher than we have configured in this policy, the request is blocked. And the user is then redirected to a blocking page explaining what has happened and potentially what to do about it. Then there's the audit threshold, which it just tells us that if the domain is above this threshold, the request will be just logged for later investigation by the administrator or by the security personnel, depending on who's in charge of the investigation. And of course, if we just scrape the sources from the internet or just use the commercial source, that would not be enough. We would have a high false positive rate, which is something that we need to avoid, especially because of our other product lines, which are suited for ISPs and telcos, where this is a strict no-go. We cannot disrupt regular internet browsing for the users, so we need to carefully balance and clean the data that we scrape to ensure that only the domains that are really malicious are blocked. And the neural network is helping us with that. So we have a few AI models or neural networks which are analyzing the data that we get from all the resolvers from all our customers. So it's heterogeneous traffic from different countries, different age groups, different users, and this helps us evaluate and refine the score of these domains so that we're more precise in the blocking. And we're also discovering new trends or new domains with this. We also have a special neural network for discovering DGA-generated domains, domains generated pseudo-randomly by DGA algorithms. And we're also putting this into the database. What's cool is that whenever we discover a new threat, it is immediately pushed out to all the resolvers at all our customers. So the protection is real time. And there are hundreds of updates every minute. The last time I checked. Right, so this is the configuration. The standard is also that we can override the automated decision by the resolver by applying either allow lists or deny lists, where we can say that this domain will be always allowed for this group of users, or this domain will be denied regardless of what Whalebone thinks. So this is a basic functionality that even firewalls have. On top of that, we have also regulatory restrictions. So this is again mainly for the ISPs, but the corporates and enterprises can take advantage of this as well. There might be some regulatory requirements. For example, here in the Czech Republic, it's the mandatory blocking of unapproved health substances and medicine, or it's the blocking of illegal casinos and gambling sites. And every country might have different laws which mandate blocking of different things. The last thing here is the content filter, where we can just enable or disable some content categories, and those will be either allowed or blocked as well. We bundle this all into a policy, which is a set of rules that we apply to every incoming DNS request. And then again, on the resolver settings in the policy assignment, we control how Whalebone is deciding what policy to apply to which requests. And so by default, there's some fallback policy, which caches all requests regardless of where they're coming from. But we can override that and say that if our network is structured in a way that on the 192.168.00/16 subnet, we have a special group of users. Let's say it's the HR department, which needs access to Facebook's, LinkedIn's, and sites like these, social networks. So we apply the benevolent policy, and the rest will be covered by the default. And in the default, the social networks will be blocked so that employees don't waste time on sites like this during working hours. So the configuration is just easy like this, and from the moment we install the resolvers, which I can actually show you how easy that is. That is one thing that Anna was hyping so much about. So the installation of the resolver is just as easy as just creating a new resolver, giving it a name. A new resolver. This will generate a unique or a script with a unique token, which I just copy to the clipboard, paste on the command line of the prepared virtual machine, and the resolver is up and running. and ready to listen to requests and also apply the filtration. Right, and from the moment that is installed and some clients are pointed towards that resolver, either via DHCP or manually, we can start collecting the data on the traffic and start blocking the incidents. So this is the dashboard where we see the actual filtration that Whalebone has been doing in one of our customers' networks. The data here is anonymized so that you won't see the actual IPs. But this is a ISP customer who has about 20,000 subscribers, which translates to about 4,000 blocks per hour in this particular scenario, in this peak on the 2nd of March. We can see the breakdown of the most active IP addresses communicating. We can see the breakdown based on the category and also based on the second level domain. With immunity, we're keeping the data for 90 days, so that's 3 months in the past. So even historical incidents can be analyzed if needed. And the data retention period can also be extended if the customer wants to implement some syslog forwarding. They can send the logs elsewhere and keep them there forever. So if I zoom out to a bit later, I can take a look at some trends. So if there's some interesting spike, for example, I can see that normally the number of incidents has been around 3,000 per hour, but there's some interesting peak around the end of February. So I can zoom in on that, and the data will automatically get recalculated, and I will see a new breakdown. In the table view below, we have the detailed view or the table view with the individual requests as they were coming. So we have the client IP. We can also enrich this by the user identity. If we connect Whalebone with Active Directory and we're able to correlate the event logs from the AD with the request timestamp, we will also be able to see the either device ID in case it's a home office security client, or the identity of the user who was logged in under that IP address which made the request. There are some things that you can do with these domains in the table view. You can first of all add them to deny lists and allow lists, analyze the domain to take a peek into our database, check the domain on URL scan to see whether something is actually being served on this web page. Let's see this Java CDN-W. There's nothing. In many cases, the domains are just blank. We can also investigate DNSSEC and go over the virus total and see which other cybersecurity vendors have been flagging this domain as malicious to somehow corroborate the verdict that we've had or the incident. We have 5 minutes till the end of the webinar. Can I continue, or do we? Is this including the questions, or?
Yes. Well, yeah, you can continue, and then two minutes before.
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
So that's that. Then, right. What I also wanted to show you is the identity protection. If I switch to a client who has this enabled, and I don't think we have that here, so I'll stop the sharing and go to my testing account. And show you how that works. I, for example, own the domain america.eu or dixolady.com. And here I can see all the incidents that have been associated with this domain once we enable the identity protection. There are currently no incidents listed here, but as soon as either we identify a new one or a historical incident has been identified, you would see that here, and the email address of that particular user who was responsible for that leak or who was victim of that leak would be listed here, along with the included data. And that could include anything from the real name of the user, his birth date, credit card information, his password, and stuff like that. Plus, there's also the description of the incident. And with this, the administrator of that particular organization can take immediate actions, either to reset the password of the user in case it's a new incident, or verify that the account has not been used in any other services internally, and basically sanitize the leak so that even if the attackers are using it as an infection vector or as an attack vector, they will not be successful with that attack. Right.
Perfect. Thank you, Adam. I'm glad that we have covered also the ID protection that I was so passionate about. Yeah, so we have 2 minutes till the end. So how about one last question? I see that there was a question. Can the admin add his or her own lists or specific IPs as well?
Not sure what you mean by this question. Whether it's adding custom domains to be blocked, sure, that is definitely possible. We're also in development of another integration which will allow external systems to do this so that this can be automated. In case the customer is also using some CM or some other solution which is parsing other threat intelligence feeds, this can be done by an API. But for now, it is definitely possible to just manually include those domains in a custom deny list, apply that to the policy, and start blocking that.
Mm-hmm.
Next question is, so how does it work in practice? We deliver a lead. That's a question for you, Anna.
Yes. So there is a question about we deliver a lead. Are you at least in the start of the negotiation and implementation, or do we do it on our own? Then if there are any issues, are you open to help us if we are certified? Well, the idea is to get you up to speed as soon as possible. So of course, at the beginning, we help you as much as we can. Either going to the first meeting with the client with you, or helping you with the implementation. But then, of course, after the first 3 clients, then you're expected to be able to do it for your markets. Of course, it's much better since you're there, you have the language, and the idea is really to give you all your space. Of course, even if you're certified, we're helping you on the way. Yes. All right. If you have any other questions, feel free to either let us know, email us, either submit them in the chat. We will get back to you. We will send you a follow-up email. And any questions you have, nothing will be unanswered. So don't worry. Well, thank you so much for joining. Thank you for being here with us. We're looking forward to seeing you on our future webinars.
Bye.